Hi, Cindy here from Pathways Homestead. Today I'm going to give you a tour of the large garden. Pretty big garden, so hide and watch. So today we're touring the large garden. It is 100 feet long and 100 feet wide, and so it is at a pretty steep angle from the northwest to the southeast. So we have diagonally planted our rows. So as you can see, I can't keep up with the grass even though I've heavily mulched, but we're doing the best we can this year. So here behind me, actually right over here, I have a short row of the sweet mini bells, and then behind the sweet mini bells I have some tomato plants, and we have lost the little sticker off of those, and Gary bought those for me after we had our tomato debacle where almost all of our tomatoes were wiped out that we had grown and started from seed in the house and transplanted in the spring. So we'll wait and see what those tomatoes turn out to be. And then right behind me here I have 3 short rows of black turtle beans, and I've already been harvesting beans off of these and have them drying in the house, and they're still producing and still blooming even with the weeds encroaching upon them. And then my 3 sisters that I planted, and so it is an ornamental corn that we raise as a hard corn or dry corn, and then we ground that corn for our flour, corn flour. And then with it, and in the 3 Swiss sisters method, I planted butternut squash and Cherokee purple pole beans. I'm sorry, Cherokee Trail of Tears pole beans. All right, so you've seen the corn, and then these rows right behind me. We planted some pole beans and pole lima beans, and the pole beans did not do very well. But on the end down there, we planted birdhouse gourds, and the birdhouse gourds are doing amazing, and there's several big birdhouse gourds in there. And then this place that's so overgrown that I have push mowed it. There it was pumpkin or tomato. There are winter squash in there, and they're doing really good. We were able to keep them weeded, but you can't see them for the weeds, but they're there. And then onions on this end, and the onions are just about done, and I've harvested most of those. Then we have the third planting of okra. And so we went in with Clemson Spineless on the south end, and then here on this north end is a Texas Hill Country or Texas Red Star, whichever one you call it. It is a green and red colored variety. It's very nice. We've been eating on it. They're producing really well. And so they're our third planting of okra, and they're doing great. And I had calendula at the end of this row here, and the calendula didn't make it, it drowned. So, and then we have over here we have our Kajari melons. So you can see the Kajaris there. They are doing amazing. And then I had some magenta peas, and they are finished. And then I have loofah gourds, and they're doing really good. I've got a few loofahs on there. And then way down on the end, we planted some lima beans, and they were spotty in their germination. I just have 3 or 4 plants, and I cannot remember. Wicks was the variety of those lima beans. And then we have our fall planting of The first row here is some more red beans, and they're doing really well. And then the second row is tenderette, green tenderette. Supposed to be a bush bean, I'm wondering. And then in the corner and all those weeds, we have our pumpkin plants, and they're actually doing quite well. Then we have some leftover cowpeas, and then there's nothing else in that row for now. Hopefully I'll get in here and get some more things planted for fall. So there's some cowpeas we planted earlier in the year, and they made it. The rest of them didn't germinate, so we just tilled it up and trying to keep down on the weeds. There's the pumpkins are coming out of there. They're running crazy. Then I have a short row of peppers here. So we have some jalapenos, and we have bell peppers and banana peppers down there in those weeds. And so I've got to get those cleared out and get them ready to go. This row starts out with sweet potatoes and ends with the yard-long beans down there on the end. And that's where we also planted our cucumbers, and they just didn't make it. On the end of the peppers, I forgot to tell you, on the end of the peppers there is watermelons area. We have some tomato plants, 3 tomato plants, and we have 3 different varieties of eggplant down there on that end. So, and then down here on this row you can see is my tomatoes and peppers. So I have several different varieties of tomatoes all the way down through here, and they go all the way to the fence post down there. And there's several different varieties of peppers in this row, and I've been working on getting it weeded. And as you can see, some of it's doing really well and some of it's not. So, and then our next row is green zucchini, or gray zucchini, gray zucchini, gray striped. We really like that variety, and we have one lone plant that is the Black Beauty. And I originally planted 8 hills of Black Beauty, and only one plant survived, so we came back in and did the gray stripe, and the gray stripe has caught up and surpassed the yellow squash that's down there on the end. So we have straight neck variety of yellow squash on the end of this row, and it's doing really well. And then this row was our sweet corn, and so we harvested the sweet corn, and then I come in and mowed it. We fed the stalks to the pigs, and we come in and mowed this. I have a few stalks drying up there for ornamentation, and come in and mowed it, and hopefully I'll get in here and get it tilled, and we can plant some peas or something for fall. Then in this row, it's another short row, we have honeydew melons here on the end, and then in the middle are some pumpkins. You can see a really nice large pumpkin down there in the middle, and on the very end are the cantaloupe, and they're doing really, really well. Then I have my summer beans that I planted in the spring, and these were contender green beans, and they just have not done well. They've struggled, and then I've just harvested a few handfuls of green beans, not even enough for a good mess. We've stir-fried them and things like that. And down in the middle there, you can see it's kind of very strange how the pests got a hold of them and just took out the middle, and then the end plants seem to be doing very well. It's kind of strange. And there's another row of green beans here, and these are of course the contender, and I think this is my last year planting contender green beans. I'm going to try some more varieties. I was very pleased with them in Wyoming. They did very well. They did very well on the farm out west where we rented a home and a little bit of acreage, or small acreage there to have a big garden, but they're just not doing very well here. I don't know what it is, something with the pH of the ground or something. They're just not doing well. And then these are bell peppers, and there's several varieties here that Gary has bought me to replace the bell peppers that didn't survive. That short row of peppers over there is about what I have that survived of the couple hundred pepper plants that I planted earlier in the spring. So up here in front we have the big Bertha peppers, and there's 4 of those, and then we have yellow bells, and then we have some black bells down on the end, and I'm really liking them. And then on the very end of them are Koki squash, or Keiki squash, however you say that, K-A-K-I, KK. Anyway, they are doing really, really well, and Gary's very pleased with them. That's some seed he got from Baker Creek, and he is really liking those squash. And then I have another row of green beans. This is the very first row I planted, and I staggered about 2 weeks between this row and the row to the left down here, the 2 rows down here. And they're not doing very well either, and I've actually debated about just pulling them, feeding them to the hogs, and just starting over. Then I have what's left of my cabbage plants that didn't do. We did get some cabbage earlier in the year, and they were about the size of my fist. That was the largest one we got, and some of them were even smaller, so we just ate those and stir-fried. And I started to replant and put in some cowpeas here, and they're germinating nicely, short row cowpeas. Gary's broccoli is actually reproducing. It produced small heads earlier, and it is producing some more little florets now. It's doing really, really well. And then my strange kohlrabi that I think got mixed up and is actually some kind of purple kale. I think I'm going to harvest those leaves and try to can them for some greens, because look, there are no bulbs on the bottom of that. So it's got to be kale instead of kohlrabi, and the seed got mixed up. So it should have been purple Vienna kohlrabi, and it is some kind of purple kale. So we'll find out. I don't think it matters. I think that you can eat the kale just as if it was kohlrabi, but we'll see. We'll see. So I have another one of those Sweet 100 cherry tomato plants as a volunteer. So total I have 4 of these plants, and they are doing great. They are doing really, really well in this little Sweet 100s. They're so sweet, so good. So, more beans. Pigs are doing good, growing. They're hollering at me because I typically feed them. When I'm out here, I pull the grass that I pull, I feed it to the pigs. So I have some pepper plants that are surviving down here. They're not doing really good. And I have tomatillos. I forgot that I had tomatillos in my long tomato and pepper row. Then right here's my yard long beans, and as you can see, they are just not doing very good. They're struggling really hard. That's all that came up. The cucumbers did not come up, and we planted this whole trellis in cucumbers, and they didn't come up, so we come back with the yard long beans, and they're doing okay. They're not doing fabulous, but they're making it. Then I have my butternut squash, and so this is my second planting of butternut squash, because like I said earlier, I planted butternut squash down with the corn, and it didn't make it. So we're going to see if we can get a fall crop of butternut squash, and I've got to get in here, mow and mulch, and get ready to go. And then at the end, these, I have a volunteer corn. And then down here is my tomato. I have a few more tomatoes and some eggplants. So got to get them cleaned out. Lots of work, lots of work. There's the green tenderette beans and the red beans. And in this row, Gary planted some of the cucamelons, and that's as big as they've got, y'all. I don't know if you can see them down there. They have not gotten very big at all. They've not vined or produced. It's just been a really bad year for cucumbers in general. And then this, of course, is my Clemson spineless okra and cowpeas. And then my birdhouse gourds over here on the corner. So guys, this concludes my tour of the big garden, and I sure thank y'all for watching and taking time out with me today. So hide and watch for my next video.